We setting up stream right now. God damn, Crohn's. God damn, Crohn's. Chrome. Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
All right, bet. Okay, just a quick review, right? Okay, intro. We're back with another episode with Doc. You know what I'm saying? The one and only. The man with so much stories to tell and a lot of wisdom that follows. Okay. So some negative outcomes, and even before I ask you the question, I feel like how we could go into it is like, well, a lot of people have been dealing with negativity. It's negativity everywhere, right? And we could go as far as, hey, how you doing? We could go as far as into it, like, what's some negative outcomes? That's when you lead that up to me, and then after that, we born Thanksgiving.
Oh no, just this part.
Oh, and then we good.
Yeah. Just say some negative outcomes that taught you some valuable lessons in your career.
Okay. I got you. All right, bet.
Ready?
Yep. And that's the only line.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bet. All right. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode with yours truly, Doc. I'm saying I'm glad to have you. A lot of stories, but a lot of wisdom that follows. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of negativity in the world. It's a lot of bad energy you gotta stay away from. And being as though, Doc, you have so much wisdom, what is some negative outcomes that taught you some hard lessons?
Oh yeah, there are quite a few of those, but the ones that come to mind. Oh wow, the first one. This was many years ago, and usually I don't remember people's names too well, but this guy, I remember his name. His name was James. He was ex-military. This guy was always just spit and polished, even creases in his shirts, even, and he was one of my greatest fans. Whatever I told him to do, if I told him to stand on his head and take his medicines, that's what he was going to do. So
Okay.
the guy, he took his medicines. He was healthy as a horse, but he did have this severe knee pain.
Okay.
And so I sent him to the orthopedic doctor, and the doctor evaluated his knee, and finally the doctor said that he was going to need a knee replacement. So he came back to me, and he says, well, I told that doctor that he's not going to touch me until you give the okay. All right. So he says, if you tell me it's okay, then I'll do it. But if you don't tell me it's okay, I'm not doing it. He said, I don't care how bad it hurts. So I said, well, this guy is a real good orthopedic surgeon. I said, he can't treat a common cold, but he can replace knees. He does it every day. He's real good at it. I said, you won't have a problem. Just go ahead and just have your knee done, because you don't need all this pain, because you're otherwise healthy.
Now, I have a question, Doc. Now, the relationship between you and this man, it was just a patient, or like he was an old friend, or like
Yeah, just a patient.
just a patient.
Yeah,
Okay.
doctor-patient
He was
relationship.
okay. He was loyal to your word. You give a word, he's on go.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right. And
okay,
I've been
no
seeing him
problem.
for many years. So so he goes, And he tells the orthopedic surgeon, he says, okay, I'm going to have this knee replacement because Dr. Pridgeon okayed it, right?
Okay.
So he goes in to surgery, and they have him on the table replacing his knee, right?
Right.
He dies on the table of a blood clot. Yeah. So the lesson from that is any decision that I make for patients, whether it appears to be something that's simple, straightforward, then I have to put a lot of thought into it because bad things can happen.
Yeah.
That was over 30 years ago, and that's always in my mind when I make decisions for people and make recommendations for people, And so, for example, a lot of times people search Google and they'll come in and they say, well, I looked on Google and it said this or that or the other. And I may say, that's a good idea. Or I may say, it's not relevant for you. And so my patients recognize that I have more than 40 years experience and I have their best interest at heart. So if I give them a recommendation, usually, they can pretty much take that to the bank.
I got one question for you, Doc. That is a very traumatic experience, on your end going through that. Did he happen to be one of your favorite patients?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
I got that vibe as soon as you said, I tell him to jump hill next, how high.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great guy. And so, that bothered me for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty hard lesson. And, there've been a couple more that kind of stick out. One is a guy many years ago as well. I was working in the emergency room.
Okay.
And this older guy, he probably mid to late 60s, comes in. He was a farmer, hadn't seen a doctor in 50 years, but he came in with right arm pain, right? And so I asked him how bad the pain was. He said, it's not too bad, which I automatically knew that wasn't true, because if he had not seen a doctor in 50 years and he comes to the emergency room in the middle of the night, then this has got to be a significant pain, right? So, we x-rayed his shoulder, and I said, wait a minute. I asked one question. I said, does your shoulder hurt right now? And he says, no. I said, what would make your shoulder hurt? He said, if I got off this bed right now and started walking, he said I would get about a half a block and my shoulder would start hurting. So because of that history, I did an EKG thinking that this might be this guy's heart. Because when you have pain, when you exert yourself, you have to kind of at least consider a cardiac cause for the pain. So, of course, EKG was normal and all of that. All of his heart tests were normal. So I called the physician that was on call to admit patients. And I told him the story. And he said, EKG was normal. He said, send him home. Tell him to make an appointment. I said, well, I'm afraid that if I send this guy home, the fact that all of his tests are normal would validate in his mind that he's okay.
Right.
And he may not come back to his appointment. Yeah, just send him home. Just tell him to make an appointment. Okay. So I didn't have any choice. I sent the guy home. So I was working 2 days later. And the guy shows up at the emergency room again, dead on arrival. Dropped dead at home. His wife said that she heard a thud in the other room, and this guy was dead before he hit the floor.
Off just shoulder pain?
It was his heart.
Did you know that going into it, or you had
I suspected it. Usually people hurt in the left shoulder, left arm, but not all the time. The fact that he had pain when he exerted himself was the thing that made me think that this had, a cardiac etiology, but I couldn't convince the admitting doctor of that, and so that was another case that I said, well, maybe I should have pushed harder, that sort of thing. That's an example of having the right thoughts about something, but sometimes you got to push. So that's a second one. And a third one is, these are my top three. A third one is a gentleman that came into my office. He was probably mid-50s, and a guy that I knew from the community. He came in, he said he was eating a sandwich, and he was getting ready to go to work one morning, or that previous morning. And when he was tying his shoes, and when he stood up from tying his shoes, he got this pain in the top of his stomach, right? So he tried to ignore it. He went to work. And a short time after he arrived at work, the pain got worse. So he went to the emergency room, and they kept him all day long in the emergency room, giving him all kinds of treatments and that kind of thing. And then they discharged him to home. Well, the next morning he comes to my office. I'd never seen him as a patient. He comes to my office, and he tells me this story. So before I even touched him, I left the room, and I told one of my nurses to call the X-ray facility and get me a stat CT scan of this guy's chest, because his story was suspicious for aneurysm. His blood pressure was high and all of that. So that's what we did. So we sent him for a stat CT scan, and I told him, when you get this CT scan, come straight back to my office. Are you hurting right now? He said, no, it just feels a little funny, but I don't have any pain right now. I said, okay, come straight back to my office. So he got the CT scan, and he came straight back to my office. And while we were waiting on the results of the CT scan, he was sitting on the bed talking to me, and he just all of a sudden just said, "Oh." I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." Boom, falls off the bed, drops dead right in front of me.
Okay, so that CT scan, that's a CAT scan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the CAT scan, when they X-ray you on that CAT scan, I heard that it does emit some radiation or some sort. Is that true?
Well, yeah, but of course that's not relevant at that time, because
Right.
you got to make the diagnosis. So yeah, this guy just dropped dead right on the floor. We started doing CPR and all that, but he was dead before he hit the floor. And this guy. So the moral of that story, once again, is a lot of times I've learned that if I have a strong hunch about something, that I just push hard to get it done, because a lot of times those hunches are correct. So those were three pretty devastating instances that taught me some valuable lessons as far as my decision making. So when as I said, when patients come to me and I have a hunch about something,
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it count. Try to make it count.
Okay. Well, those are some interesting stories, Doc. I must say so myself. Okay.
Then, of course, there have been some other lessons that weren't as devastating. For example, I had this lady, older lady, come in. Her blood pressure was like 220 over 130, just huge blood pressure. So I gave her some strong blood pressure medicine, and I told her, I'm going to see you back in 3 days to recheck this pressure. This pressure is major. You got to come back. She said, okay. So she left. 3 days later, she came back. Her blood pressure was like 160 over 90. And she was feeling better. And I told her, I said, wow. I said, that medicine worked pretty good. She said, doctor, she said, I couldn't afford that medicine. So she didn't take anything. So the lesson there was that, when you treat people, there's always going to be a combination of factors that make them either better or worse, you know, and you just can't put all your faith in the medications. You can't put all your faith in the tests that you run. You know, you gotta really focus on the patient and really treat the patient, because it's just not as simple as that. It is absolutely not as simple as that. So those are the lessons.
Is there any, you know, how should I say this? So as crazy as those stories were, how recent were they? Like, was it like 2020 recent, or like was it like 1990s, 1980s?
Yeah, those were the 1980s, because once I learned those lessons, I tried very hard not to repeat the same things.
Okay.
So then.
So it hasn't been nothing of the sorts, like something similar to that, like recently happening, where it's just like a guy collapsing, like he got tackled or something in football.
No. There's always interesting stories. One thing that's real interesting is something called a spontaneous pneumothorax, where a young kid may come in with a partially collapsed lung for no real reason, and sometimes those things are kind of difficult to pick up. My favorite one is when somebody has pain in the center of their chest, and it's coming from the chest wall, and so they take all these pain pills and pain pills and pain pills, and nothing does it. So when it comes to me, I usually put an injection of steroids into the chest wall, and that knocks it out. So, just some interesting things.
Wow. Yeah.
And some interesting things. So.
Okay. Well, we love to hear. You know what I'm saying? It's always something interesting that we learn from you, Doc, and the years of experience you had. It sounds drama. This was one of the episodes of the more, you dove in deep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all like this episode? Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and let them know about Doc. You know what I'm saying? He's coming with stories with the wisdom, and yeah. Have a blessed night, y'all. Okay. That was a good one.
Well, anyway, we will have to do some yeah, that just didn't work except in one person.
Okay, so welcome back. Welcome back, Doc. I know you got some crazy stories as Okay, so welcome back. Welcome back, Doc. I know you got some crazy stories as well as your medical journey, your medical career, things that you Yo.
Dormammu, the Cosmic Conqueror. What the hell does that even mean?
This video was made in collaboration with the Avatar Wiki. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in the description.
This is who I feel like I embody the most.
Welcome to the Amagi. Today's video is about one of Aang's closest friends and his airbending master, Monk Gyatso. Even though we know what happens with him, reliving these memories is probably going to tug at all our heartstrings, so we recommend to sit back and relax. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring
as well as
I ain't expecting to be.
Hi, Brody. Everyone, Cress.
How much time have we recorded so far?
we recorded 3.
No, like total time.
Oh, for today?
No, for all of them.
For all of them, like how much did it add up to?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I need to lay down about 30 hours.
Okay, so welcome back. Got you. So the first.
So far, we probably got 2.
Yeah. So. Right. So 18 minutes for the first one. For the second one, it was We got about 27 minutes for the second one, and for the third episode, it is. Third episode was.
All that's tonight.
Nah, if you were just talking about tonight, I think tonight was like.
Oh no. You talking about total for everything.
Yeah, total. I was just giving you like the total of each.
Damn, we don't even have 2 hours.
Nah.
Christ.
Yeah, I know it's that YouTube grind we gotta put in. They need like a couple thousand hours. I'm building the next aim. Euro